All right, we are going over the assessment, the first 50 questions, or however long we can hang in there because it's really late, and we're gonna see what we can do. All right, and let's get started. Okay. Assessments can be defined as the process of assessing or estimating attributes. Is there a reason why you picked B?
Oh
Okay.
no. I don't
Okay.
know why my thing I'm taking so forever to unmute. Oh my bad.
Oh no, no, it's fine. All right, next question. A test can be defined as a systematic method of measuring a sample of behavior. The correct answer is A, subjective. The National Council exam is a B, objective test. The scoring procedure is specific. I was gonna pick free choice, but I was like, no, it can't be right. A short answer test is a free choice test. The NCE is a forced choice test. Forced choice items are sometimes known as recognition items. This book is comprised of forced choice recognition items. On some tests, this format is used to control the social desirability phenomenon, which asserts that the person puts the answer he or she feels is socially acceptable. See the same question. Well, I hope we got that one right. Hope so. Short answer tests and projective measures utilize free response items. The NCE and the CPCE uses forced choice or so-called recognition items. And that goes right back to the description before from the previous question. A true or false test has a dichotomous recognition items. Dichotomy simply means that you are presented with two opposing choices. A test format could be normative or I-positive. In the normative format, choice D, each item is independent of all other items. Okay. A client who takes a normative test, correct answer B, can legitimately be compared to others who have taken the test. And in an I-positive measure, the person taking the test must compare items to one another. The result is that correct answer B, you cannot legitimately compare two or more people who have taken the I-passive test. Since the I-passive measure does not reveal absolute strengths, comparing one person's score to another is relatively meaningless. The person is measured in response to his or her own standard of behavior. The I-passive measure points out the highs and lows that exist within a single individual. Tests are often classified as speed tests versus power tests. A time typing test used to hire secretaries will be a correct answer C, a speed test. A counseling test consists of 300 forced response items. The person taking the test can take as long as he or she wants to answer the questions. Correct answer C. This is most likely a power test. An achievement test measures maximum performance, while a personality test or interest test measures correct answer a typical performance. Now, I know we both didn't get that one right because I was thinking personality is unconscious, thoughts and behaviors. And the explanation in Rosenthal, it says, I'm not crazy about the term typical or minimum performance, but hey, don't blame me. The strong interest inventory, SSI, is an example. Choice D, the Q short, often used to investigate personality trait, involved a procedure in which the individual is given cards with statements and asked to place them in a pile of most like me to least like me. The subject compiles them to create the ideal self. The ideal self can be compared to his or her current self-perception order to assess self-esteem. In a spiral test, the correct answer is D. The items given progressively more difficult. Just remember that a spiral staircase seems to get more difficult to the climb as you walk higher and higher. Five seconds. In a cynical test, correct answer C, you have several sections which are spiral in nature. In this section, the question will go from easy ones to those that are most difficult. A test battery is considered a horizontal test. In a test battery, several measures are used to produce results that could be more accurate than those derived from merely using a single source. I was gonna pick that one too. I did. I see you, Marquita. In a counseling research study, two groups of subjects took a test with the same name. However, when they talked with each other, they discovered that the questions were different. The researcher assured both groups that they were given the same test. How is this possible? Correct answer D. The researchers gave parallel forms of the same test. The most critical factors in test selection are C, validity and reliability. Validity refers to whether the test measures what it says it measures, while reliability tells how consistent a test measure an attribute. Which is more important, validity or reliability? C, validity. Experts nearly always consider validity the number one factor in construction of a test. A test must a test must measure what its purpose is to measure. Reliability, choice A, is the second most important concern. In the field of testing, validity refers to A, whether the test measures really what it's supposed to measure. A counselor pursues a testing catalog in search of a test which will repeatedly give consistent results. The counselor is interested in reliability. Hmm. Um, Beware, a test can indeed be reliable but not valid. A highly reliable test can prove to be invalid. Which measure would yield the highest list of reliability? D, a very accurate scale. In the real world, physical measurements are more reliable than psychological ones. Construct validity refers to the extent that a test measures an abstract trait or psychological notion. An example would be ego strength. And that makes sense because you're measuring the psychological notion. So ego is in the conscious mind. Face validity refers to the extent that test A looks or appears to measure the intended attributes. Face validity, like a person's face, merely tells you whether the test looks like it measures the intended trait. A job test which predicted future performance on a job very well would be have a high predictive validity. A new IQ test, which yield results nearly identical to another standardized measure, would be said to have a good concurrent validity. Concurrent validity answers the questions of how well your test stacks up against a well-established instrument that measures the same behavior, construct, or trait. When a counselor tells a client that the graduate record examination will predict her ability to handle graduate work, the counselor is referring to the predictive validity. A reliable test is not always valid. A valid test is always reliable. A valid test is always reliable. Remember that a reliable test, however, is not necessarily always valid. After all, a depression scale that was invalid and really measures anxiety could produce constant, consistent, reliable anxiety data. But just remember that a valid test is always reliable in general. One method of testing reliability is to give the same test to the same group of people 2 times and then correlate the scores. This is called a test retest reliability. One method of testing reliability is to give the same population alternative forms of the identical test. Each form will have the same psychometric statistical properties as the original instrument. This is known as the B, equivalent or alternate forms reliability. A counselor doing research decided to split a standardized test in half by using the even items as one of the tests and the odd item as a second test, and then correlated them. The counselor was B, testing reliability via split half method. Well, I guess the answer was kind of in the whole statement there. Right? Which method of reliability testing will be useful with an essay test, but not with the test of algebra problems? D, inter-rater, inter-observer. All right. A reliability coefficient of 1.00 indicates a perfect score which has no error. An excellent psychological counseling test have a reliability coefficient of 0.90. Nearly 90% of the scores measured the attribute in question, while 10% of the score is indicative of error. A researcher working with a personality test discovered that the test has a reliability coefficient of 0.70, which is somewhat typical. This indicates that A, 70% of the score is accurate, while 30% is inaccurate. A career counselor is using a test for a job selection process. An acceptable reliability coefficient would be 0.80 or higher.
I actually was gonna pick 70.70, but I actually my mouse hit that one by accident. 'Cause I really didn't
So
understand it.
worked out. So the reason why I picked that is because it's, remember from the previous one it said point 1.00 is like perfect.
Hmm.
So you want to get as close to 1.00 with the reliability coefficient. So that's why I chose 0.80. Let me see what the book says about that one. This is a tricky question. Although 0.770 is generally acceptable for most psychological attributes, for admissions for jobs, schools, and so on, it should be at least 0.80. And some experts will not settle for less than 90. The same test is given to the same group of people using the t-test reliability method. The correlation between the first and second administration is 0.70. The true variance is D, 49%. Here's the keys to simplifying a question such to this. To demonstrate the variance of one factor accounted for by another, you merely square the correlation. So 0.70 times 0.70 equals 0.49, and 0.49 times 100 is 49%. Your exam could refer to this principle as the coefficient of determination. IQ means D, intelligence quotient. A quotient is the result when you perform division. IQ testing has been the center of more heated debates among experts than any other type of testing. Francis Galton did research and concluded that intelligence was merely distributed like height or weight, and that it was primarily genetic. Francis Galton felt intelligence was a unitary faculty. Sir Francis Galton of England has been recognized as one of the major pioneers in the early study of individual differences. J.P. Guilford isolated 120 factors which added up to intelligence. He is also remembered for his thoughts on convergent and divergent thinking. The A counselor is told by his supervisor to measure the internal consistency reliability of a test, but not to divide the test in halves. The counselor would need to utilize the Cooter Richardson coefficient of equivalence. The first intelligence test was created by D. Alfred Bennett and Theodore Simon. Today, the Stanford Bennett IQ test is B, a standard measurement. The Stanford Bennett is standardized because the scoring and administration procedures are formal and well delineated. Measures which are not standardized, choice A, lack procedural guidelines for scoring or administration and do not include quantitative information related to the standards of performance. IQ stands for intelligence quotient, which is expressed by MA-CA times 100. Ooh, that stressed me out a little bit.
Yeah, I have no idea
Me neither.
what that answer was.
The Binet stress age-related task. Utilizing this method, a 9-year-old task would be which one? D. 50% of the 9-year-olds could answer correctly. A 9-year-old task was defined as one in which one half of the 9-year-olds could only answer successfully. Wow, that was just pretty much the same thing that we just put an answer for the explanation. Okay, I will leave it at that. Simon and Bennett pioneered the first IQ test around 1905. The test was created to discriminate normal from retarded Parisian children. That's so sad. The Minister of Public Instruction for the Paris school wanted a test to identify children with intellectual disabilities so that they could be taught separately. The assumption was made that the intelligence was basically the ability to understand school related material. In general, choice D, some experts will believe that the Wechsler is better test for those who fall in the average range, while the Stanford Binet is more accurate for assessing extremes of intelligence. Today, the term intellectual disability and intellectual development disorder have replaced the terminology used at the time, which carried negative connotations. Today, the Stanford Binet is used from ages 2 to adulthood. The IQ formula has been replaced by the SAS. And SAS stands for Standard Age Score. Uh, How you feeling over there, Marquita? Yeah. Question 50.
I'm just like, I need to like go over my assessments, study assessments more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here.
Stuff it was just like a lot of this stuff was like a lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to continue or do you want to break it up?
It don't matter.
Yeah, you can continue. Most experts would agree that the Wilshire IQ test gained popularity as the Binet didn't seem to be the best test for adults. The best IQ test for a 22-year-old single male would be the WAIS 3. The best intelligence test for a sixth grade girl would be the WISC 5 or 4. The WICS 4 is recommended for children from the ages of 6 to 16 years and 11 months. The best intelligence test for kindergarten would be the WPPSI 3. Let's see. Since the child most likely would be between 2 years of age and 7 years of age or 7 months, this would be the only possible choice. The mean on the Welchers and Binet is B 115 Wessler, 16 Stanford Binet, and the second deviation. Oh, I definitely did not get that one right at all. How'd you remember that, Marquita?
The question. I,
You said what?
the question,
The
basically.
question.
Yeah,
The
I just
the
connected
answer.
it to the answer.
Well,
Not sure if that's the right way to do it, but hey.
hey, well, they say if you go in there and you do your best, you most likely will get 50 out of half of the questions, right? Yes, process of elimination. All right. Group IQ tests like the Otis Lemon and Largo Thorndike and the California test of mental abilities are popular in school settings. The advantage is that group tests are quicker to administer. The group IQ test movement began with Choice C with the Army Alpha and Army Beta in World War One. In a culture fair test, choice A, items are known to the subject regardless of his or her culture. The black versus white IQ controversy was sparked mainly by a 1969 article written by Arthur Jensen. Choice C. The MMPI-2 is D, the standardized personality test. The word psychometric means B, any form of mental testing, which is what I want to get my PhD in.
Okay, PhD.
I know, right? See with that on neuropsychology. Um, Psychometric literally refers to a branch of counseling or psychology which focus on testing. In a projective test, the client is shown D, a neutral stimuli. The idea here is that the client will project his or her personality if given an unstructured task. The 16th PF reflects the work of Raymond Cattell. The 16th PF, which is Personality Factor Questionnaire, developed by Raymond B. Cattell, is suitable for persons age 16 and above and has been the subject of over 2,000 papers or other communications. The test measures key personality factors such as assertiveness, emotional maturity, and shrewdness. Myers-Briggs type indicator reflects the work of Carl Jung. I'm trying to see what explanation it gives on here, but I put it on the tab to add to review. The counsel who favors projective measures will most likely be a psychodynamic clinician. Okay. An aptitude test is to potential, as an achievement test is to what has been learned. Both Rorschach and thematic appreciation tests are projective tests. The Rorschach uses 10 ink block cards while the TAT uses pictures. Test bias primarily results from a a test being normally solely on white middle class clients. A counsel who feels the client has an organic, neurological, or motoric difficulty will most likely use the A Bender Gestalt. The Bender Visual Motor Gestalt test is actually an expressive projective measure, though first and foremost it's known for its ability to discern whether brain damage is evident. An interest inventory would be least valid when used with a C, eighth grade male with an IQ of 136. The keyword will be least valid. If you think it's the eighth grader, they're still in school. One major criticism of interest inventories is that they emphasize professional positions and minimize blue collar jobs. Interest inventories are positive in the sense that they are reliable and not threatening to the test taker. A counselor who had an interest primarily in the testing will most likely be a member of the AMECD. And also on the book, the discrepancy here is that um, it says a counselor who had an interest primarily in testing would most likely be a member of the AARC, which is the Association for Assessment and Research in Counseling. It's one of the 20 ACA divisions. And let me look up the AMED quickly. The I'm not seeing that, but I will put a tag on that so we can get more information about that in the next session. The NCE is an achievement test. The NCE is testing your knowledge and application of material in counseling in the counseling profession. The GATB, the ONET ability profiler, and the MCAT are examples of aptitude tests. One problem with entrance inventories is that the person often tries to answer the question in a socially acceptable manner. Psychometricians call this response style phenomenon B, social desirability, the right way to feel in society. An aptitude test predicts future behavior, while an achievement test measures what you have mastered or learned. In the case of a test like the GRE, the distinction is unclear. Your supervisor wants you to find a new personality test for your counseling agency. You should read professional journals, the Bureau's mental measurement book, yearbook, the classic textbooks in the field, as well as test materials produced by the testing company. The standard error of measurement tells you A, how accurate or inaccurate a test score is. A new IQ test has a standard error measurement of 3. Tom scores 106 on a test. If he takes his test a lot, we can predict about 68% of the time Tom will score between 103 and 109. That was a little complicated too. I don't know how I got that one. I just did the meme or too
It
complicated.
was hard. That one was pretty hard.
Yeah, it was really hard, and the explanation is really a lot. But if you read it and take your time, you can understand it. A counselor created an achievement test with a reliability coefficient of 0.82. The test is shortened since many clients feel it was too long. The counselor shortened the test but logically assumed that the reliability coefficient would now be D, lower than 82, 0.82. A counselor can utilize psychological tests to help secure a DSM or ICD code diagnosis if a third party payments are necessary. A colleague of yours invents a new project test. 17 counselors rated the same client using the measurement and came up with nearly identical assessments. This would indicate B, a high reliability. Counselors often shy away from self reports since A, clients often give inaccurate answers. In most instances, who would be the best qualified to give a brochure ink block test? Generally, a clinical psychologist will have the most training in projective measures, while a social worker will have the least education regarding tests and measurements. Your client, who is in an outpatient hospital program, is keeping a journal of her irrational thoughts. This would be the informational assessment technique. You are uncertain whether a test is intended for the population served by your not for profit agency. The best method of researching this dilemma will be you are uncertain whether a test is intended for the population served by your not for profit agency. Oh, I think that's twice. Um, the best answer is C. Read the test manual included with the test. One major testing trend is A, computer assisted testing and computer interpretation. Okay. One future trend which seems contradictory is that some experts are pushing for a greater reliance on tests while others want to rely on them less. Most counselors would agree that C, more public education is needed in the area of testing. A checklist would be an informal method of appraisal. The WAIS-3 is given to 100,000 individuals in the United States who are picked at random. A council would expect that approximately 68% would score between 85 and 115. Definitely requires some math. A word association test will be an example of a projective test. Although it is rare, some tests and exams take issues with the word projective and refer to such tests as self-expressive. Infant IQ tests are more unreliable than those given later in life. These taller tests are sometimes capable of picking up gross abnormalities such as severe intellectual disabilities. That makes sense. A good practice for counselors is to be never generalize on the basis of a single test score. You want to admit only 25% of the counselors to an advanced training program in psychodynamic therapy. The item difficulty on the entrance exam for applicants would be best set at 20.25. Because you think of 0.25 as 25% or 0.15, 15%. According to public law 93 380, also known as the Berkeley Amendment, a 19-year-old college student attending college can do all the above. Lewis Terman, the Americanized the Bennett. And last question of the night. In constructing a test, you notice that all 75 people correctly answer item number 12. This gives you an item difficulty of 1.0. All right, that concludes the assessment and testing or assessment general. Hope you enjoyed this review and hope you get to study, and I hope that it helped. If you like the content, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification for the most recent information available as far as when the new videos comes out. And the next section in the Rosenthal book that we'll go over is good old research and program evaluation. So I hope to see you there. Thank you for joining and have a great night or morning, wherever you are.